And a good morning to you all, and welcome to the starting lineup. Delighted to have you with us on an absolutely beautiful Wednesday in the Ozarks. Ned Reynolds joined today by
Maddox Radosevich.
And our special guest host will be coming in just a few minutes. And for the next 2 hours, we are right here talking sports and whatever. And we would like to hear from you, folks. The area code is 417. Our number to call is 447-1021. I say to call. Also, that's the same line on which to send your text message, if that's what you prefer to do. But either way, 447-1021, that is the number. Starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports at the Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield in Fremont, Springfield. My goodness sake, you couldn't ask for anything more along the sports lines than at Play It Again Sports. They have the uniforms, they have the equipment, they have everything you need, and they also take trade-ins down there. That's a big, big deal at Play It Again Sports. Brought to you by Swing Right Golf at the south end of Campbell Avenue, a little bit north of Nixa, and a wonderful place to visit and practice that golf swing on the simulator. They have a simulator inside, but they also have so many other facets, including batting cages outside, all at Swing Right Golf. By Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, couple of left turns, and you're there at Marshfield Chevrolet. And Citizens Bank of Rogersville with two locales, one, they call them routes, one at adjacent to Highland Springs and the other in Rogersville itself. Well, Maddox, we have a big day coming up. Our guest host will be here in just a few minutes, but in the meantime, there's a lot going on in sports, and the Bears open up their football drills. Let's see, what time is it here? A little after 7 o'clock. So they have another hour and a half, I guess, before they're out there on the grid.
Ned, this is a really interesting season for Missouri State football. I mean, you're coming off such a great start to their time in the Football Bowl subdivision, going to a bowl game. I don't think anybody could have anticipated that. And now you're under new leadership. It's a big year for Casey Woods. He wants to establish himself here in Springfield. And so far, I think the buzz around the team has been really good. And now they just got to live up to that out on the field. And that all starts today, really.
It does indeed. When you take a look at these kids, too, and the recruiting classes and the transfers, the no transfers, there's size on this ball club. And you have to compete at a FBS level, even though it's a lower level of FBS, Conference USA. Still, it's Football Bowl, and you take a look at your opening opponent, you better have some size out there. And the quarterbacking situation. The Bears are coming off a season in which they had a record-setting quarterback, Jacob Clark. Now, since the Raiders have opened up their drills, I assume he is still with the Las Vegas Raiders. But over and above all that, you're breaking in a new quarterback, and teams do not succeed unless they have a skilled individual at QB.
And I think the one line that sticks with me from when Casey Woods was on our show not too long ago, Ned, is that if you have two quarterbacks, you really don't have any. And, I think Coach Woods said, he doesn't really believe in that philosophy because he thinks that these two quarterbacks are really good, Skyler Locklear and Henry Belin. But at one point, one of those guys is going to have to be established as the leader. And that's big, not just for purposes on the field, but for what happens in the locker room, for establishing that team morale at its highest height that it can go to, because you're looking for a leader in that locker room. And of course, Casey Woods can do a lot of that, but you also need a player, and usually that's the quarterback, to step up and provide that leadership.
I think we have, in covering sports, everyone has seen teams that have marvelous talent on the field, on the court, whatever the case might be. I mean, how can these people lose? Well, that internal leadership is not there in many cases. And you made a very interesting point. You've got to have that clubhouse leader.
You do, yeah. And I think both these guys have that capability from what we've heard so far. And usually I feel like you get hints here and there about who the starter is going to be. There are tips that the head coach might provide during the media appearances that he has leading up to the season. But this time, it really is a 50-50 shot. We don't really have a lot of information at all, so I'm excited to see who the starter is going to be.
Well, Belin, the kid from Duke, he's a transfer from there, has, and I hesitate to say this, but it's a euphemism, big time, quote, big time, end quote. What is big time? Well, it's ACC. Come on, that's pretty good. And he participated in, I think it was the Sun Bowl, in which a big passing game last year, it was Arizona State, is that who I've forgotten who they played, but whatever it was, Duke won the game, and they won it through the air, and this kid was primarily responsible. The other young man is from Texas El Paso, who is transferring up here, and that in and of itself is pretty good. Their football team has been marginal in the past decades. They don't have a history of great football. They do basketball, but not football. But to have him come up here and perform very well, and Coach Woods certainly knows what to look for. Being an offensive receivers coach at Southern Methodist, he knows what the capabilities are of these quarterbacks. That is a key.
And isn't it true that Skyler Locklear's quarterback coach is also coming to Missouri State?
How curious.
Wonder if that could have anything to do with the decision, too. But, like you said, Henry Belin, that's big time. That's Power 4 football. That's ACC football. So it really does seem like a difficult decision, and I think that's why it's taking so long for one to actually come out. And I think that from a Bears fan perspective, you have to be happy that they're taking their time to deliberate on this matter and not rushing to a decision.
They don't want to rush. Do not want to rush. I don't know. I'm curious as to how many practices teams are allowed. I see varying numbers from 25 to 29 to 21 and things like that. It's in the 20s. So they'll have time to work this out. I think it's probably 25, somewhere around there. I know that a rule was passed to raise that level, but I don't think that goes into effect until next year. But regardless of that, you win on the practice field, and you've got to go out there and give it your best. Well, it's also time for our we are in the starting lineup, but this is the starting five, and some big deals going on. Did you by any chance see Mr. Skubal make his debut with the Dodgers?
I did, Ned, yes. Yeah, that was a high-intensity playoff environment at Wrigley Field last night, and the Cubs spoiled the debut for Skubal on the Dodgers, and, I don't know if it's necessarily time to panic for the Dodgers, but they have lost 5 in a row, so you do notice that.
They're in a slump, and there's no question about it. The Dodgers are a slump, but this is the time of the year, if you're going to have a slump, that you want it. It's the proverbial dog days of August, and they do exist, folks. You have teams that are not in contention at all that go out and you're playing the game, you're a professional, you play the games, but do you really give it your all? And then you have the teams that have been in command who suddenly begin to collapse. And I don't mean collapse in the catastrophic point. The Dodgers are not going to be in that point. But you do have Shohei Ohtani, who has the knee injury. He's not pitching. You have other pitchers who Glasnow and is one, and Blake
Snell.
Blake Snell. Yeah. Blake Snell. Also, they're in rehab right now. So the pitching staff that Skubal is joining now is not the pitching staff that will be taking the team into the playoffs. So the Dodgers are slumping a little bit, but hey, they'll be back. And the Cubs are not a bad ball club. Great job last night. They played well.
Yeah, I agree. The Cubs have been playing extremely well over these past couple weeks, and they've got a lot of momentum going in their direction with the pickups that they got at the trade deadline. So I think there's a lot of energy in Chicago right now, and not just for the Cubs, but for the White Sox as well. When was the last time that happened where both these teams were contending in the way that they are? You got to be excited about what's happening up there up on the north side and on the south side.
Don't think it's going to happen. I don't think this will happen, but what would you have if you had an all-Chicago World Series? It would be wild on the south side and north side.
It would be unbelievable, Ned. I just can't even imagine what the environment would be like up there. It's just been exciting enough getting to see what's happened during the regular season with both teams playing so well. But the World Series, that's a whole different
thing. and really, I guess anything is possible. But the White Sox are coming off consecutive, or was it a trifecta, in which they lost over 100 games. And this wasn't a good team, but they were getting the top draft choices. They were cultivating them. They were able to make some deals to, and I hesitate to say unload, but to rid themselves perhaps of players who were not coming through. And, hey, Chicago has come on, and the White Sox are the real thing. They're the real deal. They're in the lead, and I suspect they're going to maintain that lead.
They are indeed, yeah. 3 games ahead of Cleveland right now, And it's funny because you talk about what they've done to rebuild that club. I think a lot of their fans have been frustrated at the way that general manager Chris Getz has operated things here in the past couple of years. But look how it's turned out. I mean, now they're leading the division, and it's one of the weaker divisions in the major leagues. But still, I mean, if you're a division leader, you're doing something right. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't think we're going to get the rematch of 1906 with the Cubs and White Sox, but man, that would be something special.
It would be. It would be terrific, and it would be a big boost to the Chicago sports scene. Not that it needs any boost, but over and above all that, the baseball program has been more Cubs than it's been White Sox in recent years. Although when I was a kid growing up, you had Manny Minoso and Jim Rivera and people of this kind, Early Wynn, all these old individuals pitching for the White Sox. And they were big time. Big time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking back to it. The last time the White Sox won the World Series here in the early 2000s, and I was going back and watching one of the controversial plays that happened in that World Series with A.J. Przinsky running down to first after what he thought was a drop third strike and what the umpire thought was a drop third strike. But some players and the manager on the other side, I believe it was the Los Angeles Angels, they were not too happy in the American League Championship Series when that took place.
And when you think about it, it's the Astros they played, I think.
Oh, the Astros, that might be right.
In the World Series.
Yeah.
The fact is that it was not, from a not geographic, but from a chronological standpoint, it hasn't been that long ago. It's back in the early 2000s that they played, and the White Sox had some very good teams. But like a lot of major league, and not just baseball, but major league franchises, you have to go through the rebuilding stages. You have to bring in the new blood, et cetera, et cetera. And they did go through that period, but I think they're over it now.
Oh, they absolutely are. Yes. Yeah. I mean, totally transformed the roster. And, you know, again, if you're in the lead in your division, then you're doing something right. I mean, we can talk about wild card teams all day long, but when you're competing against a select group of teams and it's you and those four other clubs, if you can outcompete all four of those clubs and win your division, you have a title at that point. It may not be a World Series quite yet, but that's something to hang your hat on.
I wonder how many in our audience are familiar with how the playoffs work. You are, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Why don't you go ahead and articulate that, because it is the division winners, but there's a bit of a difference.
Right, yeah. It's changed quite a bit over the years, too. I mean, it used to be the case that I think it was the 3 division winners and then 2 wild card teams, but now we've added that 3rd wild card team in, and we've gotten up to 6 playoff teams. So you get the first 2 teams with byes, right? And then you get...
That's correct. That's the key right there. So there are 3 division winners, but it's the first 2 with the better records that get the byes. The third one does play, and I think it's they play the poorest of the wild card teams, poorest record. There's no poor teams in there.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And right now, for the National League, you know, we were talking about the Dodgers earlier. I mean, they're still sitting in that spot where they would be that 2nd seed, and Milwaukee has the best record in baseball right now. They just got to 70 wins. They were the first team to do that yesterday.
These are the Milwaukee Brewers, folks. This is not one of the major entities in all of baseball in terms of geography and fan base and all that, although they do draw very well. But it's not one of the big headline teams, and that's great in a lot of respects. We'll see what happens.
We will, yes. And then on the American League side, you've got the Tampa Bay Rays with the best record.
Another one.
So, you know, I mean, just some small market teams making it happen. And it just kind of makes you laugh because you sit back and you look at the American League East and you see the Rays 3.5 games up ahead of the Yankees, and you just kind of question how something like that can happen. One organization has so many more resources, yet Tampa Bay, they've done a good job developing their players, and they've had sustained success here over the past decade or so.
And who was it who began Tampa Bay on that street, about 10, 15 years ago? Do you know who it was?
Was it Joe Madden?
Heim Bloom.
Heim Bloom.
He was the one who reconstructed that team. Now, Madden was the field manager.
Right.
And he was a Lafayette College guy where my dad and brother went to college. And where Bednar, the guy who closed the scene for the Yankees last night, also went. That's not a big-time producer of huge athleticism, but Be that as it may, Madden was just a genius in handling those teams. And here's Bloom, who's now handling the Cardinals, who constructed them or reconstructed them into, look, that's not a major franchise, folks, and here they are, constantly, yearly in the lead. That's pretty good.
It's impressive, yes. I mean, it's just been a constant in the American League. There have been several teams that have had success and then fallen off, but the Rays haven't really been one of those teams. They've been consistently good, and I think that is one of the toughest teams to get to that point because you got to keep in mind you're competing with the Yankees, you're competing with the Red Sox, the Blue Jays. I mean, you talk about teams that have a lot of resources. You've got the entire country of Canada on your side as the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Orioles as well. I mean, they've got some historical success. So that's a really difficult division to compete in. But the Rays have figured it out year in and year out. And you know what? They've had playoff success as well. They haven't quite gotten over the hump yet. But, man, they've had some really good teams.
And, Maddox, you know what the secret is? They score more runs than the other team.
They do. That's it. That's it.
Take a timeout on the starting lineup. Great having you with us. We'll be back in a second. And we continue with our starting five, which in fact includes the top stories. We were talking a little bit about baseball. I'm Ned Reynolds along with
Maddox Radosevich.
And our guest host will be in with us in just a few minutes. The fact is the Cardinals, I thought, played pretty well. Hunter Dobbins was the starter for the Cardinals last night. And Ryan Weathers. Ryan Weathers is one of the Yankees stalwarts, not originally a Yankee, I think San Diego, if I remember correctly. But the fact is that Weathers shut down the Cardinals pretty much completely. And Hunter Dobbins gives up 2 bad pitches, and they both ended up in the seats.
I think our discussion from yesterday, Ned, was almost like foreshadowing for the game that happened last night. We were talking about how the game has changed, how the long ball has been such a big part of baseball over the past decade or so, and how batting averages have dipped and how it gets more difficult to put the ball in play. There were several opportunities last night for the Cardinals with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. Couldn't get that run in, and what were the only 2 runs scored? Like you said, 2 home runs.
Jazz Chisholm was one of them, and George Lombard. Now, you're not familiar with that name, but Lombard is a prize rookie, and he was a rookie last night because this was his major league debut, but he's one of the prospects that the Yankees signed who they've been cultivating for that shortstop position, and they called him up. He started and hits a home run.
And it's a great story, Ned. I mean, you got his parents there in attendance. They were originally supposed to go see his younger brother making his professional debut.
Was it in Florida?
Jupiter, yes.
Jupiter,
yeah. Single-A affiliate for the Miami Marlins. And he also hit a home run, his brother Jacob. So it really turned out to be a great day for the Lombard family. And it's just kind of interesting how it all played out. Both home runs happened on the second plate appearance for both guys. They both had a 33-degree launch angle. They were both hit around 100 miles per hour with the exit velocity. It's really amazing what happened to the Lombard family last night.
Interestingly enough, their dad is the batting coach for the Detroit Tigers, or had been, and I think maybe still be. But they were there, and the younger brother, the one who had his debut down in Florida, or played last night, it's his debut, pro debut in Florida, said, no, you go up and watch George at Yankee Stadium. This is not Yankee Stadium down here.
It's a selfless act. I mean, I know that I would have wanted my parents to be at my professional debut if I was doing that. So really good brother right there to send his parents up to Yankee Stadium and get to see George.
Art Haynes will be joining us a little bit later on in the show, and I know he'll be singing the praises of his team, who played well last night because they got a key individual back in there, Bobby Witt Jr.
That's the key right there, and it really is. I mean, that's why they extended him. That's why Bobby Witt Jr. is the face of the Kansas City Royals. You have him in that lineup, and it's a completely different team.
He had 3 hits last night, 2 RBIs. Caglione also had a couple of hits last night, and the Royals win. They beat the Minnesota Twins, who are not very good, folks. 8-2 was the final in this one, and I love the story of Randy Dobnak. Now, Randy Dobnak is not the next coming of Christy Mathewson or somebody like that, or any of the great pitchers, but the fact remains that he's in there and pitching well. And indeed, that makes the big difference. And what do you know about this? Speaking of big differences, our guest host has just walked in. Grab that seat right here because we're going to do a glorious introduction. But we are talking baseball here for just a split second. And Dobnik, I thought, pitched very, very well for the Royals. And once again, you got to have that pitching in there.
You do, yeah. And for the Royals, again, maybe this season is out the door, but you're looking forward to the future. And whenever you can get that kind of spark in your pitching staff, you have to be at least a little bit optimistic about what's going to happen in the years to come.
And it's eventually going to come back. And I know Mr. Haynes, when he joined us at 8 o'clock, will certainly elaborate upon that fact. In the meantime, the guest host has just come in. Now, our guest host is one of very few, very select individuals from Missouri State University and their sporting emphasis. Now, he's not a young man. I'm surprised he didn't come in on a walker and crutches.
Coming from you, Ned, that's a lot.
Look who's talking, right?
Something about glass houses. I don't know what it is.
Dennis Heim, folks. It's great to have him. He's, of course, back in another life. Dennis was with us often on our old radio shows, indeed.
Absolutely, yeah. Great history, Ned. It's always been a pleasure to be on with you. And, of course, I remember you whenever I was growing up in Monett.
Oh, you didn't have to say that.
Yeah. Well, you're the one that brought the walker up, so you get what you deserve, right?
My fault.
At any rate, you have been a cornerstone in this community for so long, and we're thankful to have you. That's
very kind of you to say. Now, Dennis Heim, folks, I'll fast forward just a little bit. The football Bears, open up the season at Texas A&M. And that's September 5th. Their first home game is the following weekend. And it's against a D1 AA team, Lindenwood from up in the Ohio Valley Conference up in the St. Louis area. And it's a game the Bears theoretically should do very well. But there is a special event going on, and that will be the unveiling of player number 5 to have his jersey retired at Missouri State. It'll be the number 71 worn by Dennis Heim. That'll be a big deal.
Yes, it will, and I'm really excited and honored for them to bestow this upon me because it's the university has meant so much to me over the years, and football has meant so much to so many people that played the game. You learn so many things through that process, overcoming adversity, leadership, teamwork, all those things that help you really for the rest of your life. And I think having the opportunity to be recognized in this fashion for all the people that have gone down that path is a real honor. I'm overwhelmed.
You might relay to the audience how you, number one, found out about this honor and the circumstances under which it occurred.
Yeah, so they had the sneaker soiree, and it was the 40th time that Missouri State has held this event. It's an annual fundraising event for all sporting events.
And it was last Saturday.
Yes, it was. And so we had the event was held at the Great Southern Arena. And so the entire basketball floor was full of tables and probably, I'm not sure how many people, 300, 400, somewhere in that range. It seemed like 3,000 or 4,000 to me at the time. But Patrick Ransdale, the athletic director, just got up and said, we need to recognize an individual. And he starts listing some things that sounded very familiar to me. And I was like, what is going on here? And I suspected there was something that was going to take place somewhere, sometime for something, but I really had no idea that it was to retire my jersey. It just never occurred to me that was going to be the case because, as you pointed out, there's only been, I think, 4, maybe 5 that have preceded me.
You'll be number 5.
Okay, I'll be number 5. So it's been a while. And so it's not one of those things you expect, well, that's what they're going to talk to me about then because it's been so few and far between. And so for this honor to be announced that night and having me sit there not knowing that this was going to be actually what they were going to do. The last statement he made about they're going to retire my jersey, and I was like just really taken back and blown away by it because, as I said, the university and the team and all the coaches and everything that were involved with contributing to any success that I had later on, it really is a representation of what they've accomplished. It's not just one person, and I think everyone understands how that works when you go through the journey of life. There's a lot of people along the way that help scoot you down the right path.
Big D, you would not have known Arthur Briggs. I didn't either, but he was the first one, first on the list to have the retirement. He was a long-time coach. He was there from the 19-teens up until the early 1930s. So he really established it. And you played at Briggs Stadium. That's what the stadium was named. The second one, although you may have met Ray Haley, who was... he was here, he passed away, about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I was familiar with Ray very much based on the role that he played at the school, for sure.
But the other ones you do know well. First of all, Rich Johanningmeier, who is a mutual friend of all of us here, was your coach for a while.
That's right, yeah. My junior and senior year, Rich came, his first year was my junior year, actually. And so he came in, and for those of you that know Rich, he is very meticulous, very much a detail-oriented type coach. And it was like, here's the narrow path you walk down, and don't deviate from this path because this is where we're headed. And so from a leadership standpoint, Rich just did a great job of getting the team focused on the most important thing, which was to try to win games naturally. And in 1978, they won a conference championship, which was, by the way, the year after I left. So my only consolation is I think back to Stan Musial, who left the Cardinals in 1963. And then, of course, in 1964, they won the World Series. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm in good company, maybe, So, but I was ecstatic for those guys, and I'm great friends with so many of the players that played in 78 whenever Rich led them to that conference championship.
You see many of them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a texting chain, in these days where there's a ton of those guys that are on there. And I mean, the reunions that we have, both in person or over the phone or just via text, just help celebrate all of the challenges, the tribulations, the victories that we had way back when. There's a real connection you get with those guys. When you go through something that's challenging to all the parties involved, and you go through it with people working towards a common goal like that, you just never forget it. And so it's really been a neat time because so many of them have reached out and have been very pleased with this opportunity that I've got here to be honored in this fashion. And that strength and that history, it's like you might not talk to some of them for a year or longer, but as soon as you do, it's like you never left, So it's a really great opportunity to reconnect with them in this fashion as well.
And you bring up a very interesting point, too, about athletics, because it is a binding entity with everybody, not just males, female, but all athletes. And from a fan standpoint, they come there. That's the solidifying effect that why I'm in sports,
right?
Because of the identification process. And we're overlooking the one who now what constitutes GOAT, greatest of all time? Well, this guy was when he played back in the late 1980s and very early 90s, but DeAndre Smith, who is still very actively involved in football. Well, last year, he was running backs coach with the Indianapolis Colts, and I think he still is this year.
I think he is as well, yeah. DeAndre's had just a great career, and I'll tell you, for those people that don't remember, the Bears were in the playoffs that year, his senior year, was it not?
Junior and senior.
Okay, so at any rate, he tore his meniscus in his knee.
That was junior year.
Yeah, and so they had to go in and do an operation in between the game that they just played and the playoff game that they were playing down in
Texas,
Nacogdoches, I think.
Was it Sam Houston State? No, it was not.
Stephen F. Austin, perhaps.
Austin.
Yeah, I actually went to that game, and so they ran the option, and DeAndre ran it just perfectly and had the skill set to accomplish that. And so, yeah, his jersey's been retired, and it's an honor to be included with that group, no question about it.
D glossed over it just a little bit, but DeAndre, who was an option quarterback, ran most of the time. But when he passed, he was very accurate. He's not anywhere near the all-time passing mark that Jacob Clark has, but his consistency in running that option was so great, and he was so elusive. Anyway, he dives in for a touchdown against Maine, University of Maine, who the Bears are playing here in a playoff game, and twists his knee.
Yes.
All right. After the game, Bears won the game on a field goal, as a matter of fact, at the buzzer or the gun. And they go in the locker room, and the doctor says, uh-oh, you've got meniscus problem here. Well, what do we do about it? Well, surgery, but it's going to put you out. Didn't. This is the most incredible story I think I've ever run into.
Yeah.
Had the surgery on a Sunday. Now, it's arthroscopic, I'll tell you that.
Right.
But doctors performed it, the arthroscopic surgery, took out the meniscus, I guess, and bolted him up and said, okay, just take it easy for a couple of weeks. And I can't take it easy. I've got to play football. He went out the next Saturday, which would be 6 days later, played the game.
Right.
Now, needless to say, he was slowed a little bit, but my goodness sake, he got out there, took the blows. I think he ran for 300 and some yards or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing for him to accomplish that. Of course, if you go through the meniscus surgery, they've got to trim back what was torn there, and it takes a while for that to heal. Well, he didn't have any time between the surgery and the game for it to heal, and so to go out there in that capacity and to be able to play at that level just is a real amazing event. It's a head scratcher to think that it was even possible for him to accomplish that. But we knew DeAndre had to play if the Bears were going to have a chance.
And DeAndre knew it.
Oh, yeah, he knew.
He was the catalyst. And DeAndre is such a great guy and a wonderful interview. And he said, hey, it had to be done.
Right.
And you sucked it up and went out there.
Well, life sometimes serves you lemons, and he tried to turn that into lemonade naturally. but it's really what an amazing event that he accomplished that. And still today, you would, I don't think it's ever happened before that someone would have gone back out that quickly after an injury like that. Not sure it ever had happened before or since.
He was something else. He was indeed. And he's not shy about talking about it, Nate. It was there. It happened. And so forth. And Dennis Heim happened. He happened to wander in with us. He is our guest host today. We'll take a quick time out here on the starting lineup. Don't go away. We are coming right back. And the starting lineup is brought to you by Played Against Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Citizens Bank of Rogersville, and by Marshfield Chevrolet. Ned Reynolds, along with our guest host, Dennis Heim, and
Maddox Radosevich.
And indeed, we are delighted to have you with us here on the starting lineup. Our number is 447-1021. I get it right, gang. 447-1021 and the area code 417. Do want to hear from you either on the phone or text. And if you have a question for Dennis Heim would be more than happy to talk with you. Dennis will have his jersey retired at the Lindenwood football game. I would assume that would be at halftime, but I don't know the logistics involved in that. It will, but that's got to be a very big thrill for you. When you were playing for the Bears, first of all, I want you to tell the folks you're from Monette. You're a Monette Cub.
That's correct.
Okay, and the Bears came down. Who was it who recruited you?
You know, that's interesting because the gentleman that recruited me actually moved on to another job before the following season. So he recruited me in the spring, and then the following fall, he was no longer with the coaching staff. I think maybe they fired him because they thought that I wasn't going to develop him too much, so cost the poor guy his job, you know. So whenever I came up to Springfield, it was interesting, you know, just a wet behind the ears 18-year-old kid like everyone else is. And a guy that I really consider as a mentor of mine from down there, a gentleman named J.B. Chapman, said, now, kid, he said, you need to be able to read people by the first 10 words out of their mouth. And I'm like, okay, first 10 words out of their mouth. Got it. Okay. So I come up here and, you know, you do the 12-minute run. They want to see who came in shape and who didn't. And lo and behold, one of the first people I ran across was someone that I didn't know at the time, someone that was going to have a huge impact on my life, and that was Coach Bill O'Neill. Well, Bill O'Neill has a very colorful vocabulary. And so when he first met me, he throws out some things, and I'm like, first 10 words out of their mouth. Okay. This is really, okay. But this guy seems really good. And Bill O'Neill, God rest his soul, helped so many players and was really a father figure, Ned, to so many that went through that program, hundreds of players, undoubtedly. And they all knew whenever Bill was telling telling you where the rubber hit the road. He did it in a very direct fashion, but you knew every word that came out of his mouth was designed to improve you. You knew it wasn't anything that was designed for him personally, but that he knew what you needed. He could determine what a player really needed and provide him with that guidance in a way that was a very unique and effective way to accomplish that. And that's why he's endeared so much with so many players over the decades that he coached there.
And it wasn't done with a gentle aspect either.
No, there was nothing gentle about it. You never heard a player say, Coach O'Neill, I didn't understand you. Would you mind repeating that? That never came to anyone's mind.
No.
But honestly, one of the best coaches that I ever had was Bill O'Neill, and I tip my hat to him every day for the guidance that he provided me at the time that I needed it the most.
When you were down in Monette and the Bears recruited you to play football, now you're coming from the Monette Cubs. Was Burl Fowler your coach down there?
He was, yeah.
Now, here's another long-time mentor in the area.
Oh, my. Yeah, Burl Fowler, unfortunately, he contracted or whatever you would say, he came down with cancer, and he never got to see me play. And I always regretted that Benny Lawson, Chuck Ramsey, and J.L. Phillips and the like never had, or Burl never had the chance to see me play. But it was one of those things where he was a leader of men. There's no question about it.
You had to think to yourself, now here I am from down here in Barry, and that is Barry County, I think, or is it Lawrence?
Right on the line, Ed. It's right on the line between Barry and Lawrence County. Yeah.
And I'm going up and playing college football. What went through your head as far as conditioning was concerned, and what did you do?
I worked really hard to get in shape because it was the fear of the unknown, I guess, really, because it's like, okay, we're going to a new level here. And back in the day, you didn't really have a lot of exposure to players from other teams and that kind of thing, except on the field. So you don't know what to expect. And, of course, you learn very quickly that if you were a great player on the team you were on, which many of the players that go on to college are naturally, well, they were the best player on their team when they come in as well. And it's so you're looking at a level of competition that is far above. And that fear of the unknown, getting back to your question, caused me to work very hard that summer. I remember I got in the van, our family van, and we had some property, and I measured off 2 miles because it was essentially kind of a 2-mile run, or the equivalent thereof. And so I had my track laid out, and I ran that 4 times a week and tried to increase my speed each time so that by the time I got to Springfield and they had the 12-minute run, it was like a walk in the park for me because I was prepared for it. And that was one of the things that Bill O'Neill said to me after I was done and just kind of looking around and whatnot. He goes, well, the Monette kid came in shape, so and it's not ironic necessarily based on what he meant to me as my college career went on, that I've never forgotten those first words out of his mouth.
Was that and I think I'm right on this, was that the little event they ran in August around the track at the...
Oh, right.
And you had to do, well, let's see, it's a 1/4-mile track, so you had, and it's 12 miles?
Well, it's 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
Yeah, so you see how far you get in 12 minutes. And some guys were depositing things along the side of the track because they didn't come in shape. But you're looking at, there were some guys that tossed cookies, and you knew what was going to be demanded of you. And I was not going to let that happen to me based on the fear of what was I going to be faced with. So
that brings up do you remember Barry Hinson, of course? Who
oh, my.
Everybody remembers Coach B. He would give the basketball players off for a couple of days, and it wasn't very much, maybe 2 or 3 days at Christmas time. They'd be allowed to go home, then come back and continue. Well, the first practice back, he made it a point of having trash cans at either end of the court because he put them through really tough running sprints and things like that, and it produced the effect that you might expect.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Bear Bryant. You'll correct me if I'm wrong here, that used to say he wanted the practices to be harder than the games because he wanted to know who was going to quit on him during practice. He didn't want to find out during the game.
Which would have happened. This is when Bryant was at Texas A&M, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And he had what did he call them? The College Station Boys or something like that. He took him to this boot camp. in the heat of August in Texas and put them through some really, really tough drills.
Yeah, absolutely, no question.
That's why Bear Bryant was Bear Bryant.
He was that, and his record spoke for itself as well, didn't it?
I want to get into your career just a little bit. And folks, the lines are open at 447-1021. I'd like to hear from you. Do we have, Maddox, any questions over there?
Nothing yet, Ned. No, we'll keep our eyes open, though.
I hope some people are listening, because Dennis Heim certainly is one who exudes great knowledge of the football game itself. Speaking of that, now, you haven't seen the Bears play. They're practicing this morning, as a matter of fact.
Right.
And you won't get a chance to see that. But by the same token, you are on the football committee that puts together a lot of things and raises some funds and does it very well. What do you expect from what Coach Woods has told you? Yeah,
well, it's interesting because you take a look at the players that come in, and of course it's a different world now with the transfer portal being available. They were able to keep 70 players from the previous roster, yeah. And so, you're looking at a very dynamic coach. Anyone that has heard him speak knows this already. And if you haven't heard Coach Woods speak, you need to. But his mantra that he brings out, he goes, "It takes all of us." And I think that really hits the nail on the head when you take a look at what Missouri State's trying to accomplish now. And under the leadership of Biff Williams as the president over there, and Patrick Ransdale as the athletic director, you've got guys right there between those two gentlemen that are aligned to try to show that Missouri State stands for excellence in the most public form that they can. And I think there's a lot of potential students and current students that relate to the fact that if they show excellence in something that's so visible to the public, then they're probably going to attempt to show excellence in other aspects of the academics that the school offers also. And they do that. They work very hard over there at the university under the direction of Coach Williams, to the point that they've got a 5-year strategic plan so that each department knows, hey, here's where you are, here's where we need to be in order to accomplish our goals. And goals are the key thing to achieve success in life. And he illustrates that through his actions. And everybody knows what that strategic plan consists of. There, in my opinion, lies the major challenge for any coach, not just Coach Woods, but any coach involved in any sport, and that is articulating to your kids that philosophy. And I would suspect that's not easy to do. There's so many people involved is really part of the reason for that. There's so many people involved that keeping everyone on the same track, to use an analogy, pulling the rope all in the same direction and trying to help focus that energy in the direction that you're trying to head is part of what leadership's all about.
Dennis, after looking at everything that Coach Woods has done over his short time at Missouri State so far, what do you think the most inspiring quality that he has is?
Wow, that is really a good question. I have to think about that momentarily. I think organizationally, he is just at the top of the heap. Many people may not realize this, but he was the chief of staff down at SMU, in addition to being the offensive coordinator. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, he's working behind the scenes, organizing all the things that have to take place from an organizational standpoint in order to connect the dots from point A to point B. And so he understands the inner workings behind the scenes as well as what needs to take place on the field. And I will tell you, one of the qualities that is his best, and you'll know this if you've ever heard him speak, is he is very motivational and committed. The internal fortitude that he has, he expresses very well, and the players know whenever he speaks, it doesn't take long for any of us to realize he's a leader of men, and we're fortunate to have him. There is, I think, probably the greatest compliment that can come from a former player, or a fan in this case, and to the coaches. That is, you have the ability to make the message heard, because kids these days don't often listen. Now, when you came up here to Missouri State back, it would have been 73. Is that your freshman year? Fall of 74. 74. And you had Coach Red Cross then. That's correct. And right. Don Cross I knew him well, and is a great guy, tremendous guy. But he did not have a glittering record as a football coach. What did you find? What was your
expectation as a freshman, and how did it affect you?
Well, I think Don Red Cross and his coaching staff, and we've talked about Coach O'Neill briefly here, but who was part of that staff. But I think, as a freshman, you're sitting there and you're just trying to be like a sponge and learn all that you can as it relates to what's being placed in front of you with the challenges of the games and trying to win as many as you can and that kind of thing. And Don Red Cross was just a great guy. Really just a super individual, felt like he was a good friend, didn't have necessarily the success with wins and losses. And so, as you pointed out, Rich Johanningmeier came then my junior and senior year. But Don Red, you knew he wanted your success and that he was behind you 100%. And I think that's a very important attribute for any coach to have, so that the player feels like you're on their side, even when you have to deliver a message that may not be the most pleasant, based on what the player needs, right?
You gave credit to the late Coach O'Neill. I think that Cross brought him with him from Illinois State, if I'm not mistaken.
That may be true, because Coach O'Neill did come from Illinois State. Exactly what the timing was of that, I can't confess to knowing. Yeah, I think that's probably true.
And see how the intertwining levels of sports comes together, because it wouldn't have happened otherwise. Probably not anyway, but that's how it all works, and there's a reason why events do happen. Also a reason why we need to take a quick time out here on the starting lineup and be right back. Thanks for being with us on the starting lineup. We only have a few seconds remaining in the first segment. Dennis Heim is in with us as our special guest host, and then coming up at 8 o'clock, Art Haynes will be joining in, and Dennis and Art, of course, were the Bears football team for many years. Bears broadcasting team, I should say.
Well, yeah, Art drugged me along, I'll just say that. When you've got someone like him to lead the way, it's pretty easy.
Well, it's a big deal. There's somebody also calling in, too. Let's see, Maddox, if we can take a call here and find out. Let's find out. Good morning. With whom are we talking?
DeAndre Smith.
You'll have to forgive me. I did not hear you, sir. With whom are we talking?
DeAndre Smith.
This is not DeAndre Smith.
This is DeAndre Smith. How we doing, my friend?
What are you doing?
This is great.
Hey, D, are you able to hold on for a few seconds?
I got 5 minutes total. If you guys are good with that.
Oh, we've got to take a break. Got to take a break.
Okay.
So
how long are you guys on the air?
And we're on for another hour after this.
Okay, I can call you back when I get out of this meeting. Probably about
Please,
15, 20 minutes.
Will you do that?
I sure will.
DeAndre, this is a great pleasure. A great pleasure. Hey, all right, man.
Absolutely.
Hang up, and we'll see you when you call back. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. It was DeAndre.
Yeah, how about that?
Jeez. How about that?
You were a bit incredulous, Ned, I think. Whenever he first said that, you're like, this isn't DeAndre.
No, this is somebody.
Good for him for calling in. That's fantastic.
That is great. Absolutely great. But, of course, he's got the Colts to have to work out.
Absolutely.
We're there at the break. Okay, let's take our mid-show timeout. Brief break, folks. We'll be back with the second segment. We're visiting with Dennis Heim.